Welcome back as we continue our conversation in the Teacher's Lounge with Debbie Kunes. This is chapter 3. We have to empower teachers as leaders, and so we also have to listen to them as well, and make sure that you're safe and feel comfortable going back into the environment. How do you think this?
That's why I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say that I have a former student right now, and he was trying to get his signatures to get on a ballot to be on a school board. And it's in a neighborhood where he grew up, where he was a successful scholar, and where he's been a teacher. But with the obstacles of the pandemic, getting the signatures resulted in him not being able to get on the ballot. So if there's a situation when you can support another teacher who is trying to get on a school board or take any position of leadership, let's try to promote that and take down any obstacles. That was very disheartening because his whole passion for his neighborhood was stopped because he didn't have enough signatures during a pandemic on a ballot.
Wow. And I hope he doesn't lose that. So I hope in 2 years or 4 years, depending on what he's running for, he keeps that energy, and now it puts him in a position where he can get even more support. What's his name? Let's talk about him a little bit. What's his name?
I would love to. And his name is Isidro Alvarez. And Isidro Alvarez was at South Mountain High School, graduated in the top of his class. He was in the Music Magnet. He was the drum major for the marching band. He went to the U of A. He played in the marching band at the U of A. He is in the Roosevelt district, and he's working with a music program. He started from nothing, and he's building it up with Rosie's House and Alice Cooper's help and anything he can get. And so he would like to, he's been very proactive advocating in Red for Ed and other teacher movements, and he's young and energetic. He's bilingual, enthusiastic. And so I'm the neighborhood next to him. He's South Phoenix, I'm Levine, but because I'm 85339, I couldn't sign his petition for 85040. So it gets kind of sticky. We need to help each other out. But Isidro, I'm going to share this with you. Please continue la lucha, man. Keep it up. Keep battling. You're an amazing person, and you're going to profoundly impact education in Arizona.
And his name is Isidro Alvarez. What is he running for?
He's running for Roosevelt School Board. Well, those were the signatures that he wanted to get on the ballot.
Okay.
So we'll get there.
Isidro Alvarez, keep fighting the good fight. This is just a temporary setback to prepare you for an even greater comeback. So let's get you ready for the next election, the next run. Don't lose hope. So along that,
right.
So now that we're talking about community empowerment, people running for offices, community members being empowered and using their voice to create change. There's also great civil unrest in our nation right now. And I, for one, believe that education is the great equalizer. I think that a well-prepared education system can dismantle so many of the ills in today's society. And that's why I say with $1 Million Teacher Project, we're looking to empower communities from the classroom out. We think when schools become community centers and hubs of activity and connectivity and helping students and families be empowered and unleash their potential, all in this academic environment, and schools are working in partnership with the community, that changes the trajectory of so much. But with that, and with the civil unrest, and I'm specifically talking about things like Black Lives Matter, and that statement that turned into a movement, that then also turned into organizations because there was a need to organize, because you can't just have people running around helter skelter. There has to be some organization that happens. But it started as a statement that has grown into this global movement. um there's been a lot of talk around how the deficiencies in our curriculum. There's been a lot of talks about how our curriculum doesn't necessarily empower all communities and have these conversations. So how has that climate of civil unrest, how has things like Black Lives Matter, how is that going to shape how you approach your classroom this year? Are there things you're going to try to insert? Are there these type of conversations happening right now about how classrooms can lesson plan and create curriculum to address this type of stuff? And I know you're pretty vocal, and I see sometimes the stuff you post online to highlight the talent of all of your students and making sure that people are looking at a young Black boy, young brown boy or girl, as an individual with talent and potential. Like, I saw some of your posts where you say when you post a kid's picture and say, I see a future president, I see a future marketing exec, whatever, because it is all about perception, right? How do we unpack that? So I see glimmers of that out and how you're doing it on social media, but how is that going to seep into the classroom?
You have to walk your talk.
Mm.
You have to be very deliberate in your choices, topics for discussion. You also have to have your ears open, and you have to be willing to take a stand against any racial epithets or words that are used in your classroom. You have to be anti-racist. It is not okay for students to berate or belittle each other in any way, for staff to insult a student or vice versa. And so many times I see people walk by, which the ignoring of it is complacency. That's, to some students, giving them encouragement and saying you approve it because you're not intervening. So I think that teachers need to be bold, and they need to be brave, and they need to open up their eyes and their ears. And whether or not it is a staff member, and you tell the staff member, I think that what you're saying is not a true reflection of the scholar that you're talking about, or perhaps, what, I think you might be showing bias in that statement. You have to be bold. The students need to know that you're there to support them, but you need to walk your talk. So then, like you said, curriculum. Who are the poets? Who are the playwrights? Who are the heroes in your story that you are presenting to your students? And there's a lot of gaps in our books, right? A long time ago, people who bought books that made them feel good. Nowadays, if you get real, there's curriculum that's going to make some of us feel very uncomfortable sharing. But do we hold back because it makes the teacher uncomfortable when it's something that could really be profoundly important for the student to know the ancestors' wisdom and the contributions that ancient civilizations have gifted us with, and that they descend from that royalty and nobility? All students come from greatness, and what their potential is then to achieve greatness as well. What I'm trying to say is that you have to see their color. You have to acknowledge their cultural identity. You have to allow them to identify with any group they want. I had a student who identified as an inanimate vegetable one year.
Wow.
But you know what? For that year, I respected her. And so I have biracial students. Do they want to check white or black. That's their prerogative. I have Hispanic students. One wants to be Perez and the other wants to be Perez. That's their prerogative. So learn to pronounce their names according to the way they and their mama say their names. You're not going to change. I had another teacher one time tell a student, I can't say that Ebonic name. I'm just going to call you Joe. No, say their names. You know, I've had students where 35 times I've said, I'm going to try to pronounce this correctly out of respect. And if I mess it up, please teach me. There are little things that you can do to show value and that everyone is welcome in your classroom. And so choose your content wisely, stand up to bigotry, bias, and racist remarks, whether they're from your staff or your students, and show love and respect by letting them self-identify and pronounce their name correctly.
So hilarious, not even, it's not hilarious. Now it's real troubling to me, but I remember, so I moved here from Texas. My dad was in the military. He was in the Air Force. My mom and dad split when I was in 5th grade. My mom grew up here. And so when they split, we relocated to Texas. I went to Desert Sands Junior High School. And I remember I had a social studies teacher. And there was a African girl. She was like African from Africa in our class. I remember her name, and I remember this moment vividly. Her name was Equitasi. That was her name. I don't know how I remember that. It ain't like me and the girl were like great friends, but I remember her, and it's probably because of this moment. I remember her name was Equitasi. First day of school, first day, and I'm a new kid. First day of school, he's going through the teacher's going through the roll, doing the roll call, and he's calling teachers' names. He comes to her name, and he says, "What's your name?" He's like, "I can't even pronounce it. I'm just gonna call you Iwi." And he changed the girl's name like for the entire year. And again, I'm in 7th grade. I mean, people get nicknames and stuff like that, but most of the time it's something endearing. It's something, family, all those type of things. But now being older and being an adult, I realize you completely took this girl's identity. And she was a kid. So who knows how that made her feel? That when she went into class, he didn't ask her permission. He didn't make sure it was okay with her, because what 7th grader is going to challenge their teacher? When we're looking at our teacher like they're the authority figure. So what student is going to be like, no, don't call me Equitasi. That's my name. Don't call me Iwi. And she may have been from a culture or from a family that was really about respecting their elders. And so she wasn't going to, so she may not have challenged them, because now that I think about it, I do know some kids from the schools I went to that had no problem challenging the teacher. But he wasn't one of those kids, but he did. He completely changed her name. He called her that for the entire school year. And so I think about that. So I appreciate your sentiment and your grace. Coming up next week, more with Debbie Kunes.